Emmett, thank you so much for inviting me. Just wanted to thank you before I begin. And I will keep us on time. I'll go through these slides relatively quickly. I know questions are handled offline, so I'll be around as well, just like the prior speaker. So, can everybody hear me okay? I want to make sure my mic's okay. So I just very quickly, Axial is focused on being a sourcing platform for the sub $100 million M&A category. So all of my comments are probably more focused on 10 to $100 million businesses. Cerberus certainly doing sub $100 million businesses as add-ons, but unlikely in that category. The market gets very, very different in the sub $100 million market. And so happy to talk offline with any of you who are really active there. I would say that I was going to create a slide to sort of define excellence and try and create some clarity there. But generally speaking, what I would say is that excellence represents a higher bar than just finding deals, having people reach you, searching on the internet. It means that you're fundamentally being found for the deals that you have a right to win on. You're being found through word of mouth. There's some sort of flywheel around your acquisition organization that is creating real differentiation in the way that the market perceives you as an acquirer. Everybody can source deals in the sub $100 million market. That's not hard. You can do that with different tools. You can do that with cold calling and email blasting. That's not what really excellence ends up being. So I just wanted to at least give some anecdotal definitions there. Anybody can find deals in this market. It's really about whether or not you can get to the next level and find the next level for your organization. This is what you're up against. Just very quickly, the source here is from my company, Axial. So Axial provides software to investment bankers and business brokers that sell sub $100 million businesses. And the market share for the most active brokers and bankers in this market is tiny. So even the most active banker, the best boutique investment bank selling smaller businesses, represents basis points of market share in this market. So you cannot rely on 10, 20, 30 investment bankers or investment banking organizations and specialty groups to feel like you have good coverage. You need a different plan in this market. What I mean by 10% annual turnover is that just 10% of the CRM data that we use at Axial to do what we do for our clients basically goes dark and is undeliverable roughly each year. So the rate of entry and exit from brokers and bankers in and out of this market is quite high, in addition to just a big N. And that just creates lots of deal sourcing coverage challenges if you're looking to hunt in this market. This is a pie chart just quickly of the number of people that are in the market on Axial. It doesn't represent the total market, but there's about 10,400 active entities on Axial. 60% of the acquirers or 60% of that count are strategic acquirers. And so just going back to the first slide, it doesn't really work the way that it works for a Cerberus or a KKR or a Blackstone. There's just so many names of acquirers in this market. You really have a differentiation challenge in this market that, in my view, is much different than when you're in upper middle market or large cap private equity. And so I did my best to sort of create these three ideas that relate to this stack of excellence in small business deal sourcing. They rhyme with the AI conversation, but I think the important thing to remember is even if your AI deal sourcing machinery is incredible, in the private markets, there's only one winner. There's only one buyer. It's not the public markets. You can't all be shareholders. It's not an angel investment with a big, long cap table of a bunch of angel investors. There's only one buyer at the end of the day. So if your AI funnel is fantastic and incredible, but you don't have a plan for how to win, it's a lot of work for nothing, right? You know, if Blackstone comes along and has the right to win and you don't, you've done a huge amount of work and you didn't win the deal. You can't just invest because you did the deal and you did the work and you like it. So a memorable online narrative. What I mean by this is, can people find you easily online and become quickly familiar with who you are, why you are an acquirer, and why you would be an interesting partner, right? Can you win online asynchronously, Or do you have to have a phone call with every single one of them and a Zoom call and go and get on an airplane? It's not that that stuff's not unimportant. It is as you get further down the funnel, but can you build an advantage online at the top of the funnel? I do think that the data-driven and software-enabled aspects of this are real. I have a slide deck or a slide, later on that just shows what sort of the table stakes software and data are in the category. And then I think whether we like it or not, and in order to win these transactions where there's only going to be one buyer, you can't just be a great sourcer. You have to have a great team around you. You have to have a reputation for being able to close. You have to have a reputation for having capital availability. And you have to have a reputation that demonstrates that you're a great owner of the business. When you're selling and buying sub-$100 million businesses, it doesn't run with a fiduciary board. It's not like whoever the highest bidder is, and clears the fairness opinion is going to win the day. These businesses are bought and sold by an owner who says, I like working with them a lot. I think they will do a good job with this business. And if their price is reasonable and their structure seems fair, I'm good with that. And you can win these transactions even as, without being the market clearing bidder in every situation. So credibility and reputation matter. You don't have to go and get this, sort of, CYA from the board and have all like the SEC stuff. It just doesn't work that way in this market. So this is someone who I got to know. He's been a customer of ours at Axial for a long time. 100% focused on acquiring businesses in the pet food category. I knew Kelsey would take a picture of this because he knows Bill well. And then spun out all of the brands and now is 100% totally focused on natural products for dogs. Right? He's a known e-commerce entrepreneur who's gone completely deep on the pet food products category. Again, because he's made that choice, because it's very clear when you go to LinkedIn, you can see right away what he's doing, who he is. You can quickly just read about it. Inside of Axial, when a banker uses Axial to identify buyers, the #1 clicked page from the list of buyers that we send to them is the link out to their LinkedIn profile. So inside Axial, the way it just quickly works, I'm not trying to make an advertisement, but the bankers use it to find buyers through our matchmaking system. Then we provide all of this data to them on the buyers, and the #1 click is out to LinkedIn. They quickly want to see who is it that they might be dealing with. So don't just have, the managing partners, the CEO, whoever the key deal team is for you, make sure that your profile on LinkedIn is easy to understand why you would be a good acquirer. Don't just have it be, finance. Create a story, right? Realize that you have to be a marketer. You need to be able to have a conversation with them without having actually gotten them on the phone. These are just 2 more examples. Be easy to find and to research online. I think if you all stopped and sort of zoomed out for a second and thought about like the products that you use as a consumer or as a business, I think you would find that the great products tend to have a tremendous amount of word of mouth. And the reason that they have word of mouth is because the products are excellent. And I think that there's a version of that that is underway in deal sourcing. Having word of mouth inbound come to you is an expression of the strength of your brand and the visibility and accessibility of your brand among the markets that you want to be competing to buy businesses in. So Permanent Equity, again, it's another customer of mine that I've just gotten to know really well. They're incredibly devoted to producing great content that explains how they do diligence, how you should think about selecting an investment banker, how you should prepare as a founder, for the sale process. And it's all available online on their site. And they've got a really big platform and a big megaphone that they use to publish this. So again, any banker, any business owner who goes to the Permanent Equity site can very quickly see all of this information and become more and more familiar with the business. I do think that the investment community are historically sort of not a great sales and marketing, sort of community, doesn't really think about marketing and sales the way that operating companies do. And I think if you want to have an advantage in sourcing, you need to think like a sales organization, think like a marketing organization, think less like an acquirer, and think more like an operating company that's, that needs to differentiate itself in its market. Um, I thought this was really interesting. I just sort of been watching what Blackstone has been doing over the last couple of years. I mean, this is like the prototypical old school, started in the 1980s, New York City, big bad wolf of Wall Street. And their marketing is, I think it's outstanding. It's minimally, it's generating an enormous amount of traffic, an enormous amount of awareness, a huge amount of interest. They're working hard to figure out the combination of like funny plus seriousness. If you go take a look at their LinkedIn feed, you go look at what they did, their holiday video. I mean, I think that is a really, really, really high bar that they've set. Some people might think I'm crazy, but I think that the word of mouth that they generate because of this, the way they're towing the line between not taking themselves too seriously, but then also mixing in great content, really, really good serious Q&A, and then having guys like Jonathan, doing some really, really silly things online. It just makes the brand approachable. Finance obviously has just this reputation for being cold, unapproachable, scary, sharky, all of those things. So they're really doing, I think, a nice job of sort of pushing back on some of those things. And I think it's allowing them to enter into markets where they want to deploy capital. They weren't historically a tech investor, but now they have huge investments in data centers, huge investments in technology, huge growth equity fund. So I think they're thinking about the brand that they need in order to access the entrepreneurs whose businesses they want to partner with. I think it's really, really thoughtful. One thing that this is maybe a little bit more tactical, but I think there is a tendency in the market to sometimes buy businesses, not do a press release, terms of the deal not disclosed, just all this historical orientation around like proprietary confidentiality on everything. And I think in a world where the internet is alive and well, social media is becoming increasingly table stakes in the professional world and not just the consumer world, I think it's starting to work against you. This is an incredible founder who I've gotten to know. She spent a bunch of time in McKinsey, then went off to Ingersoll Rand, then was part of ServiceMaster, and she started this smart home integration business called Daisy. She's looking to buy and franchise the like IT service providers that like install Lutron in your home and your TVs and your Wi-Fi. And in about 18 months, she's been able to buy 10 businesses just because she's sort of blended a great history of credibility in the franchise and acquisition space with really, really, really thoughtful marketing. So as you can see here, CE Pro it's a trade rag. She's specifically putting her press release in trade rags. It's not just going out on the PR news wires. She's distributing her press release into these niche media markets that tie to the markets where she's looking to make acquisitions. And she's got a great story to tell. She's a fantastic female founder. She's got 4 children. There's just a lot in there on who she is and why you would want to work with her. And I asked her, I said, can we get you to use Axial for deal sourcing? And she said, to be honest, we just have everybody coming to us. Like, we're getting a tremendous amount of inbound. And maybe there's a little bit of an exaggeration, a little bit of like a humble brag, but I tend to believe it. She's built a lot of halo around what she's doing in this market. And so she has this unfair sourcing advantage that's born of great credibility and now a lot of activity. I do think that these accolades and appearances do add up in our market. These are just a couple of things that we do in our category in terms of just merchandising and trying to rank and benchmark. So I think anything that is in the markets where you're interested, I think sometimes these things do get poo-pooed, and I get that. But I do think that if you can accumulate a reputation and accumulate certain accolades or recognition and make that part of your website and part of your identity, I think it's helpful. This is certainly not complete, but this just kind of shows what a lot of organizations are spending time and money on, and there's ways to use these software products and lots of competitors to them well, and there's ways to use them really poorly. And so I do think that, you know, you can't just focus on some of the things on the prior slides. I do think that getting really, really committed to high quality data in your CRM, focus on hygiene, a focus on good outbound prospecting. I can't tell you the number of bad outbound emails I get as a business owner from private equity firms. I got one this weekend where it was like, we're interested in acquiring Axial in 2025. We think it meets our criteria. Please let me know when you're available for a call. And you can't you can't have junior associates writing emails like that. It's not going to work out well. And so I think a lot of people think that they're checking the box by sort of buying these software packages and sort of doing the motion. But I think getting into the details of how you use these things, thinking carefully about what's the message that you put out there, it really matters. When I started my company 15 years ago, only a couple of these businesses were sort of penetrated into the market. Now it seems like sort of table stakes. The one thing, this is the famous Amazon flywheel here. It's not a deal sourcing flywheel. I think this may be one of my last slides. What I wanted to share here was just that the concept of being excellent at this is it's not going to be it's very hard. Like it takes time and it takes a lot of work. It's not easy to become great at these things. I think just in the same way that businesses work really hard to build great products and deliver great services, I think to be operating with a lot of excellence in the world of deal sourcing, you got to put a lot of great things together. It's not an easy road, and so I don't want anybody to we serve many thousand acquirers at Axial, and I just want everybody to be reassured that like there's nobody who's out there who's like figured it out and has it on autopilot and it's easy. Everybody is working very, very hard to figure these things out, and the hoop is constantly moving. But I do think that stack of three that I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, I think if you stay focused there and you stay focused for longer periods of time, you don't expect like rapid, turnkey, great deals from the best founders and entrepreneurs in your market, I think you'll see that you can build a flywheel that connects your closed transactions to your notoriety and reputation, to your inbound deal flow, and you can keep on sort of turning that flywheel faster and faster by staying focused. That's all I have, Emmett. I wanted to make sure I stayed on time. If anybody wants to reach me, this is my email address. Thanks for listening.